functions of epithelial tissue. There's 4 types of tissues in the body: epithelial, connective, muscle, and nervous. In a previous video, I talked about the characteristics or properties of epithelial tissue because it helps us start to explain its structure that leads us to its functions. So this is just a quick outline of functions. We can use the skin, specifically the epidermis, as a way to describe these functions. So quickly just looking at what does epithelial tissue do? Well, I've talked about it that it's the windshield of our body, so it does provide that physical protection. When we look at our skin, it's not only a physical barrier, but then it also helps us to protect from things like microorganisms, right? It's that windshield, that barrier. So physical protection. How do we do that? The cells are tightly packed together. That's our cellularity, which leads us into control permeability. Remember, 2/3 of our body is water, so we have to control how much water is leaving our body. We see it leaving through perspiration, but we also have to control what's going in and out. And I see that, let's say I throw a can of paint on you. It doesn't go right into your skin, depending on the chemical makeup. It takes some time to get through unless I wash it off. And then I have the ability to wash a lot of things off, to decontaminate myself. So we control that permeability. And then I see that when I'm just in water, say I'm in a hot tub or jacuzzi, that my skin will start to wrinkle, right? That's our stratum corneum, that superficial layer that's doing that, but it's trying to control the permeability. We'll learn about different ways that we have sensation. There's specific cells that are specialized within the epidermis called Merkel cells that help us with just light touch to be able to understand, like on our fingertips. If I think about my lips when I make contact with things, and then we'll learn about collections of cells called corpuscles that help with light touch and with deep touch. Specialized secretions. We've talked about the modes of secretions for exocrine glands. And when we look at the skin, I see that I have these little flowery structures around the hair. These are called sebaceous glands. They specialize in what they secrete. It's the sebum or oil of my skin. And then I have eccrine or Merkel sweat glands built in that provide that watery perspiration to come up to the top to cool my skin. So I have specialized ways to secrete a product. And then filtration, excretion, absorption. I kind of move on and just show the kidneys, because when we learn the urinary system, we'll talk about the functional unit of the nephron. And when we look at the nephron, it has the ability to, with its tubules, to filter out typically excess salts and waters. But when we look at the filtration process, it has the ability to then to essentially like a coffee filter to filter out what I don't need. And then I excrete that waste, or then I could reabsorb it. A lot of times when we talk about absorption, when we look at our lungs, it's made up of simple squamous epithelium at the alveoli. Its ability to absorb is based on its functionality and structure of the tissue. So basic functions of epithelial tissue, we're comparing them again to our other 3 types of tissue, but understanding the basics of the functions leads into understanding how its makeup exists.